Standard and Pioneer as best we can, but these are 6 of the SCG Tour's very, very best in the finals. You love to see it happen, and this should be a great one. Edgar Magalhaes, of course, is right on top of the SCG Tour Player of the Year leaderboard through now 3 events. But the one thing that's eluded him for a very long time, and he has been public about this, is his lack of a trophy, even getting second place at the Star City Games Players Championship. So now wouldn't be a bad time for his squad on the right to get it done. He can finally have that winner's interview he so desperately craves. Once upon a time here for Matthew Dilks, after seeing Eli Kassis kick things off the snow-covered island, a Mishra's Bauble, and an Arkham's Astrolabe. Dilks looks like he's going to take his Hanweir Battlements. The rest of those cards will go to the bottom. Dilks going to get the Battlements out of the Ultimate Guard Sidewinder deck case.
Talk to me about it.
Powerful product. There's an amulet. Remember, Kassis knew coming into the weekend, hey, the SCG Tour, Modern's involved. Some of the best players like to play, well, I'll say love to play Amulet Titan. Dilks among them. Edgar will play the deck too, so will Pulliam. And Kassis said, I've got a deck that's pretty darn good against this strategy. So he plays a Talisman of Dominance, and now he'll play a Thoughtseize.
Quite the opening here from Kassis.
Summoner's Pact, Azusa, Lost But Seeking, Gruul Turf, Bajuka Bog, Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. Those are the 5 cards in Matthew Dilks' hand.
I mean, Dilks' hand was pretty close to rolled up here, but now Thoughtseize, I'm assuming, taking the Azusa, and his hand is not worth a whole lot.
Now remember, Dilks' deck is a little bit redundant at 3 drops with 4 Azuzas and 4 Dryads, but you also get redundant with the number of Titans you have with Summoner's Pact, Titans itself, Teleria West finding it.
I guess maybe there's an argument for the Summoner's Pact here because his hand's a dead end. He has Azusa and mana, who cares? Whereas if you take the Azusa, he's drawing to any of the 3-mana creatures suddenly become really problematic. So maybe it's actually Summoner's Pact here as the card.
Well, that's why we're up here, and they're down there. Eli Kassis, coming off of a Pro Tour top 8 and Mythic Championship Richmond last year in this very building.
Because if you leave Summoner's Pact, Dilks is drawing to basically any green creature at all, turns his hand on, because he needs a payoff and then a 3 to bridge it over.
Oh, there goes Azusa. We'll see what Dilks' draw step is going to be here. He's got a lot of good ones he can draw in this spot. The interesting thing here, too, if you're Dilks, is you could pact for an Azusa here if you wanted to. I don't know how aggressive he wants to go about getting, and he's just going to play a Valakut. It will enter the battlefield tapped and then untapped from the Amulet trigger, and we head back over to Kassis. You mentioned his nice start. Kassis put a lot of material on the battlefield. Now he has a Sunken Hollow. This is another copy of Thoughtseize.
And that's the argument for taking Azusa, is you can strand it. You can strand the Summoner's Pact for 1 turn and then get it the following turn with a discard spell. Now, something more pressing has come up with Dilks having drawn a Primeval Titan. That's the selection with Thoughtseize, but good sequencing there by Kassis, trying to get rid of the early card first and then try to get the later card later.
The follow-up is Sword of the Meek there for Kassis, and we're going to head back over to Dilks. Dilks with Summoner's Pact and lands in hand. The 28-year-old has a little bit of thinking to do. As Kassis is starting to really build up a wall of artifacts. Missing Urza at this stage, but that's really about it. As here is Bajuka Bog. Bajuka Bog's going to come down. It's going to take care of Kassis' graveyard. We're going to head back over to Eli now. Eli will draw. Inquisition of Kozilek, another discard spell. Once Upon a Time or Summoner's Pact are the choices. Interestingly enough, Dilks actually can't play Once Upon a Time right now with the Bajuka Bog, a Valakut, and a Hanweir Battlements as his lands.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was a little surprised not to see Once Upon a Time in response here, because then you could find Primeval Titan, which avoids the Inquisition, but that would explain it.
There's a Polluted Delta. And Kassis will pass the turn back with just 1 card left in hand. Back over to Dilks, we are going to go. Still has that Summoner's Pact. Kassis has seen it multiple times. That forest was the draw step, that much is clear. Didn't have that. And now, Matthew Dilks is a turn away from playing a Primeval Titan here, folks.
Well, I think we're going to see a Mystic Sanctuary here from Kassis and get back a discard spell.
Fair enough. There is Mystic Sanctuary off of the fetch land. Kassis is going to go get Inquisition of Kozilek. He'll draw Inquisition. He'll target Dilks. Goodbye Summoner's Pact. Now you got to ask yourself, how good is Dilks at peeling off the top? Is it Titan time? Is it Summoner's Pact?
Handful of big draws, and then a lot of cards that don't do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. That was Castle Garenbrig, and Dilks will pass the turn back. Over to Kassis we go. He doesn't have much going on at this stage of things. Sword of the Meek is really about it. And there's a snow-covered island. He'll pass the turn back over to Dilks. And Dilks is reorganizing a little bit here. How about a Gruul Turf? He's going to make a green and a red. Pick up the turf. So here's 3. There's Dryad. Okay.
This puts some pressure here on Kassis is now with 6 lands. The Valakut is on as long as Dilks is able to keep the Dryad.
Valakut trigger, because that's land 6 in Gruul Turf. I'm curious to see what land Dilks wants to pick up, because he can just pick up the Gruul Turf and kind of do this.
This is 6 points of damage a turn.
Mm-hmm. I like this. He's going to use the red from the Gruul Turf to give the Dryad haste with the battlements, and now come across for some damage. Okay. So the Gruul Turf is going to stay in hand. You mentioned 6 points of damage per turn. You were right about that. So Kassis needs to draw something like now.
Removal spell, even for the Dryad, would be good.
Pithing Needle. Gonna name Handwear Battlements. Okay. Gonna shut that off in case the Primeval Titan comes rolling off the top, so we'll head back over to Dilks. And Dilks gonna reorganize that mana a little bit here. Only drew a prime time. Gruul Turf. Amulet Trigger.
And we're just looking, if Kassis' last card is a land, which seems likely at this point, we're just looking at lethal this turn.
Yeah, you have to imagine quite a bit. Once Dryad Titan works itself into the equation. You can't give Titan haste, but
doesn't need to. Just you get another Valakut, another land.
You betcha. There is prime time.
12.
That is going to do it. Matthew Dilks is going to win game number 1 here over Ely Kassis. Amulet Titan up a game over Dimir Wurza. We'll be going to their sideboards in just a moment, but you can see our other matches, they're deep into it. That Dimir Inverter Mirror is still in game number 1 here between Ingram and Magalhaes, and they're for Pulliam and Baumeister. They're still duking it out too, which doesn't really surprise you too much. That matchup is a long one between Team of Reclamation and Azorius Control in Standard. So these 2 great players are going to go to the drawing board, go to their sideboards, and we'll be doing the same here in just a moment. Good first game, though.
That was great.
Good first game. Obviously trying to pick each other. Kassis trying to pick Dilks apart with those discard spells. Took good cards with all of them.
Yeah, Kassis just got buried by too many mulligans that game. The sword never amounted to anything. The needle wasn't useful.
Yep.
And he was able to attack Dilks' hand, but the leftovers that Kassis had didn't amount to anything. And you can't give Amulet Titan that kind of time because there's so many draw steps that just convert into a very, very fast kill. And Dilks finding that Primeval Titan to finish it off.
And that's what's kind of interesting about one-ofs in a style of deck like this, because you're playing Warrior of Invention, so it makes some sense. You can justify 1 sword, 1 needle as bullets that you search for. Sometimes they're totally fine when you draw them. Other times, not so much, like in that particular game. So we'll take a look at Ely Kassis, who's got 3 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Battle at the Bridge, 2 Ashiok Dream Render, 2 Ether Gust. A Hero's Downfall, a Torrential Gearhawk, an Engineered Explosives, a Dead of Winter, a Cletus Trader of Geth, and a Grafdigger's Cage.
I think you're going to see the Ether Gusts come in, the Ashiok, and the Hero's Downfall.
For Matthew Dilks, he's got 4 copies of Ether Gust, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Force of Vigor, 2 Dismember, 2 Beasts Within, a Radiant Fountain, a Field of the Dead, you have to imagine is good here, and a Reclamation Sages too.
Yeah, the Reclamation Sage, the Field of the Dead, and I could probably be talked into Beast Within as well.
Well, those are your options there for both players. They're going to shuffle up and get ready here for game number 2. And as most of you probably know, we're going to be headed to Philadelphia next weekend. Me and you, I think, joined by Ryan Overturf, Todd Anderson, Nick Miller. The rest of the SCG Tour crew are heading to the Valley Forge Casino and Resort to do a little team-constructed action. More on that tournament coming right now. Philadelphia next weekend, but for now we are in Richmond, and we can update you on the Corey Baumeister Will Pulliam match. Corey Baumeister with Azorius Control up a game over Will Pulliam playing Teamer Reclamation. Again, if we have time to jump that way, we will, but we're going to keep our focus here on these two fantastic players. Kassis, Mythic Champion, SCG Invitational Champion. He's done so much in his career playing Magic. Previously thought of as a format specialist.
Got kind of some initial visibility with his performance in Eternal formats. Legacy and Vintage. Upstate New York has a really good scene for those formats. But has just become one of the top American pros, full stop.
Mishra's Bauble is where things will begin. Now it's Sunken Hollow, and Kassis will draw a card. Back to Dilks we go for his first turn of the game. Is it a free green spell? Things I never thought I'd say in my days of covering Magic. It's Handware Battlement to start again. And it looks like maybe an amulet as well. And it is. We'll head back over to Kassis. Polluted Delta and a passing of the turn. Just a Castle Garenbrig there for Dilks, and Kassis is going to sacrifice that Polluted Delta. So the first couple of turns are generally pretty slow for both players. No discard this time around for Kassis, however. Kassis is going to search up a Watery Grave that enters the battlefield tapped.
An interesting thing here is how Dilks decides to deploy his Amulet of Vigor here. It's a little bit tricky in this matchup because Kassis has 3 copies of Archmage's Charm, which can steal it.
Yep.
So there is some vulnerability to just putting it out on the battlefield. There's going to be some spots here where Dilks will just want to try to do everything in one turn, play it as a Dark Ritual. But Archmage's Charm also has the out of just being a counterspell, which breaks up those sequences pretty well, too. So just as a nod to efficiency here and to play around the discard, he's going to put it out there. But it's not without risk. It's possible it gets stolen and doesn't really do a whole lot.
Snow-Covered Island and the oh boy. Ashiok Dreamrender is going to make this game much more difficult for Matt.
And this is one of the best cards in the format you can have against Amulet Titan. It's very hard for them to attack down, and it cuts off most of their best avenues.
And the Ashiok's going to roll down to 4 and exile that graveyard. So we're heading back over to Dilks, who can't search his library anymore. Field of the Dead, though, is a way to get around that. Now, he's got some work to do to start generating some zombies, but that's a way to go about getting moving. We will head back to Kassis, who does have that Ashiok. And this is an Arkham's Astrolabe. So a new card coming, Thopter Foundry the draw, Cryptic Command in hand as well. You also can see the Archmage's Charm that's there too. This Dimir Warza deck is very blue heavy, with some splashing of black. As there goes Ashiok again, taking care of a couple of cards.
Now, it's not like Kassis is trying to mill Dilks out of this game necessarily. It's that Dilks' deck has a lot of one-ofs. So there is some value in milling here. Usually it doesn't matter very much. You're playing against decks with a bunch of 3s and 4-ofs, but Amulet Titan, you actually have the chance of hitting a high-leverage card and cutting them out from being able to have it for the rest of the game.
Yeah, worth noting that a couple of Dryads have now been exiled. A Valakut has been exiled as well. So you talk about a card that had a huge impact in Game 1.
Yeah, if you can get both of the Valakuts, for example, that's a dimension that is just cut off for Dilks for the rest of the game.
Yep. This is a Simic Growth Chamber. Trigger on. Okay. Dilks is going to go with Secure Tribe Scout now.
Time to take it. Just take it.
Which one mana permanent do you want, my friend?
I mean,
Neither. Neither.
We'd rather just have
right.
2 cards.
Two
I was going
cards
to say
it is.
that the Tribe Scout is the more powerful thing to pair with Field of the Dead.
Yes.
So that was my... But Kassis is... You keep them.
I'll take 2 new ones, thanks. Got an update for you on our middle match. Edgar Magalhaes wins game number 1 in Pioneer over Peter Ingram in that Demir Inverter Mirror. Edgar getting one step closer to getting his first trophy, something he has wanted desperately here on the SCG Tour. Time to turn over 4 more. Amulet, Engineer Explosives, another Secure Tribe Scout, and a Forest. We'll head to exile along with the Secure Tribe Scout that was killed by that Fatal Push. Here is Cryptic Command. Oh, boy.
Ooh.
That'll set you back. Well, that's on Dilks' upkeep, so he'll draw. Here's Castle Garenbrig. Be a good time to have an Azusa or something like that. He's got neither. So we are going to go back over to Kassis. That was a big swing.
Yeah, that is brutal there for Dilks because that was a window to resolve something, and now Kassis is just back up with all of his mana.
It'll be a Scalding Tarn here from Ely. He's going to sacrifice that and go get himself a Mystic Sanctuary. He has the requisite islands to get Cryptic Command back.
Yes, he does.
And now, oh, would you look at that?
That's sweet. Now it's back in his hand. It's quite the island.
It sure is. It sure is. Gonna mill over 4 cards here. Will Kassis. Couple of lands and a Azusa Lost But Seeking are long gone now. Ashiok really getting to work on Dilks' deck. We're going to go back over to Dilks now. Up a game, but in some real trouble this one.
Ashiok is really problematic. Very hard for Dilks to execute his game plan in the face of that card.
All right, well, Simic Growth Chamber in the face of a Cryptic Command.
In the Field of Ruin.
Yes. It's a tough way to do it. Either going to take a look. Well, trigger is still going to happen. Don't forget the Amulet triggers on the stack right now. Untapping the Simic Growth Chamber. And you can see Kassis saying triggers on. I want to ruin him with Cryptic Command again. How's that sound? I think Peter said, oh, that sounds pretty good to me. So we'll see the modes on Cryptic Command here in just a moment, but it seems pretty straightforward, which is going to be to bounce Simic Growth Chamber. And draw a card. Now Field of the Dead is back in hand. But here's Azusa. Okay.
It's the window.
So that's going to resolve. So Field of the Dead is back. Growth Chamber down now. That's untapped. And we're back over to Kassis. He's got that Ashok on 1. You have to imagine it's just going to stay there.
Yeah, so well, he might find another copy. Although
Fair.
I think it's unlikely that you just straight mill him out, so probably want to hold tight regardless.
Another Mystic Sanctuary.
Oh, that's, you know.
Yep. You've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
Cryptic back on top. Now there's Thopter Foundry. Getting the infrastructure set up. And Kassis will pass the turn back. Cryptic Command on top of the deck. So we head back over to Matthew Dilks.
This has the vague appearance of an opening.
I don't buy it. I know you don't either.
I don't.
I know you don't. And I can't imagine Dilks does either. All that mana up, nothing to do. Cryptic Man on top of your deck. It's almost like he wants you to play into this window.
It is suspicious.
Couple of land drops. He can play both of those at once, or one after the other. Doing some shortcutting as Dilks by playing the Windswept Heath and the Wooded Foothills because land drops don't use the stack. Cracking a fetch land does, though. Now here's the additional one. There's an amulet trigger. Will there be a response? No. Okay. Dilks thinking away. Normally you see his play so much more confident and straightforward, but for now, just going to play a couple lands past the turn back. So Kassis is going to catch in one of these Arkham's Astrolabes to make a Thopter. No Sword of the Meek nonsense going on here. He just wants to start to get a little pressure going.
Doesn't need the Astrolabe regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Also a potential chump blocker to protect Ashiok.
So there is a Nick Miller Thopter token. Looks like we're going to maybe sack another Astrolabe. Oh, he is. Okay. So another Thopter. Gain another life, of course. And now Kassis will untap. So a couple of 1/1 flyers out there. And now we get a discard spell, finally. Okay, Summoner's Pact. Pact Negation. Amulet of Vigor. Field of the Dead. Simic Growth Chamber.
Can't pick up his deck, so the Summoner's Pact's no good.
Mm-hmm.
Amulet's redundant. Dilks has all the mana in the world he could ever use. So that leaves Pact of Negations.
Let's see where Kassis and Ingram go next, as you see Peter in the middle there. Down a game to Edgar Magalhaes. But their match currently on hold. Again, we're going to be moving that way for game number 2. Regardless of the result of this particular game, as there is a Field of Ruin. Is it time to go activating? Kassis looks like he's thinking about it.
Ashiok, Field of the Dead.
Ever heard of it?
Field of Ruin, rather.
That's your kind of combo.
That's my kind of combo.
I know that.
You want to pick up your... Oh, I'm sorry. Nope.
He probably is forced to shuffle. Well, actually, no. We take a look at Ashiok. I think it's opponent's effects.
Opponent's effect. Okay.
Yeah. Spells and abilities your opponent's control can't cause their controller to search their library.
That's a shame. I was already starting 4 Ashiok, 4 Path to Exile, 4 Field of Ruin. Ah, well. Next time.
Well, you were for play design now. You can fix it.
Yeah. Hey, I just saw some things on over the tournament this weekend. I'm really wondering why Ashiok says opposing effects.
Can we get an errata in there?
Yeah.
Backup amulet.
Ghost
matter.
Quarter.
Yeah. Kassis doesn't care about that one much.
Settle the wreckage.
Yeah. Let's go. Back over to Ely. There's a swamp. Aha. Now Dilks is going to have to get moving.
Yeah, before he wasn't really under very much pressure to do anything. And now Field of the Dead is not going to be good enough to keep pace.
Nope.
That was kind of the one hope that maybe you could try to squeeze out a good turn or two with Field of the Dead. And that is off the table now.
Thopter Foundry plus Sword of the Meek, a combo that's been trying to work itself into Modern for some time now, to very little success once Sword of the Meek was unbanned. We've seen it here and there, and it does work out very well with Urza, but those previous Urza decks, they didn't need it. They had Oko, they had Mox Opal, they had Emery. They had a lot better things to do than make a bunch of Thopters, that's for sure. Simic Growth Chamber is going to be land, at least the first one here for Dilks. 2 amulet triggers. So 2 green, 2 blue floating. Castle Garenbrig. Prime time, baby. I'd be shocked if that result. There's that cryptic command we all know about. So it'll be countering something here in just a moment. Looks like it'll be counter draw. Bye-bye prime time. Two more amulet triggers. Okay, well, how about primetime number 2? Running primetimes here for Dilks? All right. Well, the thing about that, it's not the scariest thing in the world because he can't search his deck.
He can't. I was actually a little bit surprised that Kassis even bothered to counter the first one.
Yeah?
So, like how good is Crawlworm right now? It's just not that good.
Well, this one's got trample, baby.
Yeah, sure. Pardon me.
How about that?
Pardon me.
Yeah, no problem.
What's the common that's in a reset? Colossal Dreadmaw?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Well,
one of the cards that got us started playing Magic.
certified banger.
That's right.
Classic track.
Can we get a reprint?
No, it is just too bad even for draft by modern standards. Because it's not like you play the 6/6 for 6 all the time, you know?
It's true. It's true. So 6/4 with no keywords. Maybe not the best, if I had to guess.
That's the kind of thing that doesn't bother me, but does not hold up to modern times.
Well, maybe you need to really depower a set.
Yeah.
So that Crawworm is hanging out on top. As Dilks is going to concede the game. He can't beat the Ashiok in the combination of Thopter Foundry and Sword of the Meek. So how about a little Pioneer, shall we?
First email back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Titled In Defense of Crawworm.
I like that. Get that baby fired up. Magalhaes, Ingram.
I'm not
Ingram
trying
on
to
the
make,
play.
I'm not trying to make a set where we would consider printing Crawworm. I'm trying to print a set where Crawworm would be the best common.
And like I said, I'm here for it.
And I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
Or you know what? You got to start slow, that backtrack. So how about we make like a Moss Kami the best green common again? Just 6 mana, 5/5 trample, and then work it back even further to 6/4 no trample. How about that? Well. Will Pulliam finally takes an L this weekend. Corey Baumeister, everybody. 2-0 over Will the Thrill. Azorius Control now up. Dispatches Teamer Reclamation. And so that means the players on the left of Kassis, Ingram, and Baumeister take the lead in the match.
And now the chatting begins.
Mm-hmm.
Pack Rat.
Well,
You remember we covered so much of this card, and I remember
you and I have.
I remember the feeling of just this is so repetitive and so like it feels like a glitch. Doesn't really feel like Magic anymore. And now I'm like, hell yeah, I hope this kills him.
Thassa's Oracle is going to put 2 cards to the bottom. Pack Rat.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
It sure
you know
does.
what I mean?
You see it every week. You're hoping the person has Bile Blight.
Right.
Now you're hoping for so many rats.
No. I had a lot of success with Mono Red in that format. And I would have a Searing Blood, and I used to go, I'm going to let him make one. And then you Searing Blood the second one, and then it's like, what do you want to make another one?
Sure. I mean, I
You
kind
want
of
to
want to.
You want to make another one?
Here's a Thought Eraser. Jace, Supreme Will, couple of lands, Drowned Catacomb. Let's make it 2. Different arts. Tried to trick me. It didn't work. Along with an island. Don't forget about the Surveil that'll be happening. That's the Supreme Will bites the dust. Ingram will take a look. There goes Opt. We're heading back over to Edgar Magalhaes, whose hand is pretty weak. Not a bad draw, though. Thought Erasure. Mystical Disputes, plural, along with Inverter and Thassa's Oracle. I think Peter's hand is better than Edgar's.
But not surprising there that Ingram here a little bit tight on mana if he were willing to Surveil over an Opt.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that's one that you're just going to keep on the top unless your hand is so constricted on mana that you don't even think you'll have a mana to spare next turn, which is where Ingram's at right now. You know, if you take the Opt and draw it, you had to choose between Opt and making a rat.
There goes the Inverter. Right to the graveyard. Surveil here for Magalhaes. He'll figure out what he wants to do with this top card. We don't have a look at it. Nobody does but Edgar. And there goes the Fatal Push. Drowned Catacombs. Pass the turn back. So obviously Edgar doesn't care that much about Pack Rat.
Well, it's not. I think it's not that he doesn't care. It's that the Fatal Push doesn't really help in the long term because Ingram makes a rat and then you're back up against it. So Magalhaes needs to find something that allows him to make the game about something else.
Oh, second Pack Rat off the top.
This allows him to hold up Mystical Dispute.
It does. Not a bad draw. Drowned Catacombs. Magalhaes will pass the turn back over to Ingram. Ingram with an island. This allows him to make a rat and leave up Mystical Dispute. And you and I, as we've mentioned multiple times, covered a lot of Pack Rat. It kills quick.
And it doesn't get better
No.
for the other person. It's rare for it to get better.
Peter was thinking about making a rat before damage to deal 6, but I think he thought a little bit better of it and saying, you know what I can do? I can leave out 2 Mystical Disputes. And I like that better.
Or dispute and pay for a dispute.
There you go.
You don't really need the extra points because, again, it only gets worse.
And not in much of a rush.
No.
So Magalhaes down to 14. 16, excuse me. 2 plus 2 is 4. I didn't know if you knew that.
I did.
Okay, that's good.
Rat.
Yep.
This attack is not lethal, but next turn will be.
Mm-hmm. How about 9? Good time to block.
I like that block.
Yeah, me too. I like this rat. Mystical Dispute at the ready. 8 damage will get through. I don't know what it could be. Just a couple of lands. No goodies there for Edgar. So they're all tied up, which means we're going back to the top shelf.
So we're going to put this match on ice.
Yes, we are.
And head over to Modern, where either Dilks can take this game, match and send it back to Pioneer, or Kassis can take game number 3 here and win the whole tournament.
Oh, we're about to find out in just a moment now, aren't we? Let's do it to it, folks. Dilks going to start things off with the Castle Garenbrig. Over to Kassis, excuse me, we go. He'll bobble himself to start. Man, Corey B's coming to hang out. Misty Rainforest, pass the turn back. Kassis wants that card, so he'll take it. We're going to go back over to Matthew Dilks now. Cool, calm, and collected as always. Remember, this is a matchup that Kassis is 8-0 against this weekend. He brought this deck to beat Amulet Titan.
Really good performances from both Kassis and Barrage for 2 decks that very much metagamed to beat Amulet Titan.
Yep.
Unfortunately for Barrage, she was able to take her match, but her teammates were not able to get through Magalhaes and Pulliam. But Kassis here trying to advance to 9-0 in this matchup and take home the trophy for good measure.
Yeah. There's an amulet. Oh.
Doesn't mean that Dilks' hand is bad. Does not mean he's missing land drops.
I know.
Way more likely that he's got a big turn set up either next turn or the turn after. Often this line, something that will come up is second amulet, bounce land, go.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, I don't buy it. I don't think he has nothing. What's this? Talisman. Inquisition. Okay. Let me see. What are you setting up there, Dilks?
As mentioned, it's just a hand that could just rip next turn.
Yep. Just trying to hook him. Azusa, 2 Titans. Pact, Rot Farm. So if he draws, I have to think about it some. There's obviously a really good draw here. I think Amulet might be his best draw.
Amulet off the top would just be the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Just have 18 mana or whatever.
All right, so he drew Castle Garenbrig, passed the turn back. Okay. There's Talisman. Sunken Hollow, passed the turn back. Okay.
Good news for Dilks. I mean, 3 mana there. You know, Archmage's Charm is a really big problem. And Kassis, by playing that Watergrave tap, suggests that he does not have it.
I mean, you can pack for Azusa this turn. Play Rot Farm, pick it up. Tap it for 2, obviously. Pick it up.
I am willing to bet that Dilks' hand has a path to basically do everything this turn.
Well, he can go nuts this turn.
Yeah, I think the conversation is probably around, can I beat an Aether Gust?
Sure. Rot Farm. Yep. Pick it up. You got a green floating. How about this? Gust. That's game.
Yep.
That's match.
Yep.
That's tournament. Ely Kassis, Peter Ingram, Corey Baumeister going to win this game and match.